Hello everyone, welcome to this podcast where we are discussing on what is the difference between open large language model versus a closed one. So in generative AI landscape, many of you might have heard this term as open source LLMs or closed LLMs. Let's do a deep dive into what is the basic difference between both of these. And we also have our senior data scientist with us to share further more insights on that.
Hey, hi everyone. Let's dive right in.
So let's start with what is a closed LLM, right? So as you all know, so maybe would you like to give a quick intro about what actually is an LLM?
So LLM is nothing but large language models, right? So you would have this term is quite recent, but language models are being there for a long time, right?
Exactly.
And when you fit deep learning into it, it becomes large due to the data scale of data and compute you have in it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also the number of parameters is very large,
Hmm.
and it is capable of capturing very highly complicated patterns and giving human level
And
performance.
not to forget about the transformer architecture. That is one of the
Exactly.
key reason why we have large before a language model.
Definitely. So, even though Transformer is an open model, right? So,
Yeah.
even we can implement Transformer with the encoder decoder.
Hmm.
But on top of that, many enterprise has built their own
Hmm.
architecture. So, one such example and a very popular one is the OpenAI's GPT. So, till GPT-2, it was an open model. Anybody can see the code. They can also replicate the same. But GPT-3 has a very high level of performance that they have made it a paid version, and you will have to use their platform, or you can only do a API call to the model. So if you can recall, either you might have interacted in the chat GPT UI, or if you are into the development, you might have made a API call. So these categories what we call as closed source LLMs,
Yep.
right? So it's nothing to do with the architecture or technical part. It's just that if the company is willing to make it an open model for anybody to use it, or are there any paid version to it about the licensing cost? It's more towards the cost aspects. So, few of the examples would be Google's Gemini. So, Gemini is a very powerful large language model, but you can interact with it only using a UI or a API call. And similarly, we have OpenAI, GPT, Anthropic, Claude, and Cohere AI models, right? So, from your experience, which one do you think companies prefer, the closed models or the open models? So, for the open models, will come, but what do you think? Are these being used, or the open models are having more traction?
Yeah. To me, for enterprise level organizations, right? I think open source model makes sense because first thing which comes to my mind when you talk about companies, right? It's the security, right? How secure my data is. So whenever I pass my enterprise data to a OpenAI or a Google, right? So I care a lot about my data. So you'd have so when GPT was released at the time, you would have seen this news, right? Samsung data was leaked by OpenAI. So that is one concern people realized about using these closed LLMs. I see open LLMs are preferred at times, right? But if you care a lot about the performance of the or the reasoning capability of the LLM, then you go for closed source LLMs. But you can't. It's not guaranteed that they will keep your data secure.
That's really an amazing point. So now you have created a hype about this OpenLM because these are having a very high level of security. Even though these cloud are private, still there is a concern about the data that is getting passed. For example, if you're doing an API call to OpenAI to call the GPT model, we are actually passing our data to their cloud. Even though we have all the MOM, all of those, still there is a trust issue with these API calls, right? So that's where these open source large language models arrive. So these are basically like any other open libraries that we have, like how we can download Python and anybody can use. Similarly, we can download these model weights. We know what is the architecture, how to use those systems within our local system. So all of those are possible, and also we can use these with the licensing permission as well. We can use for both research purpose and also the commercial purpose based upon the models. So these have opened a lot of opportunities for newer research opportunities, and to create different models, different version of the models, and also it fosters collaboration among the developer community.
No, just think about this, right? So when Andrew NG used to start to use terms like AI is the new electricity, AI got a lot of traction only when all those research and effort, whatever people put, was open sourced, right? We have reached to a level of chat gpt that's mainly, right, one of the reason is, okay, people can, you can say data compute all this, but it was made sure whatever research we have seen from 2012 till now, all the efforts have been open sourced, or it's public, it's available for public, right? You can see, even now you can see what, how a transformer architecture looks like. Just imagine if Google would have made that architecture as a closed source, you won't have GPT-4 for now,
Sure.
right? So this open source LLM still has that AI DNA in it, right? I don't know why people suddenly made this a closed research, but you can understand the other side of the coin here as well, right? People can make you know you would have seen things like in image or generative image models, people are misusing that for deep fake applications. So if you open source powerful LLMs like maybe GPT-4, chances are that people can misuse that. So you have to think in both the sides, but as of now open source still enables many people to come up with courses, right? I think yesterday we spoke about this new pre-training LLM course on Coursera, right? So
Yeah.
that is purely developed on Hugging Face. So all the models, data sets, that some learners like us can benefit because of open source, right? If it wasn't for open source, I don't think I would be speaking in front of you guys.
Sure. So whatever its own advantages it has on open source, all of those comes for these open large language models also, and yeah. So we'll see some of those examples. So we have the Meta's Llama 2 model, and we have the Mistral model, which was a very powerful model, which was very equivalent to Gemini, and we also have a responsible AI enabled Gemma model, and we also have the Falcon model. So because of these, there are a lot of startups that have been created from this. So a lot of collaborations happen, and many native language models came up by fine tuning these models on the native data set.
Yeah.
So a lot of innovation, inclusiveness happened with these open models being available.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree. I think I spoke enough of this
Sure.
about open source in the previous point, right? So I'm not going to reiterate the same. So let's
Sure.
proceed.
So those were really very interesting points, and the very important point that you mentioned is on the security, right? So even in many enterprise, even though we have very great performance with the paid or closed models, many companies, if they are going with RAG and they are okay with these performance, they are definitely relying on these closed models. I mean the open models
Yeah.
for the security reasons.
And why not use a simple model and fine tune that for your company specific data? That should
Exactly.
also perform well compared to GPT-4, right?
Exactly. So fine tuning is also very much easy with these open models.
Yes.
All right, I hope you all have got a good understanding on what is the closed and open model all about, and when these are getting used, and what are all the benefits and disadvantages of those. So we have curated those as a table, and this again is generated by generative AI. So we talked about the source code being, publicly available or not, and is it a community-driven approach, and how is the cost? So for closed, we have the paid licensed version, and for the open, anybody can collaborate on that and contribute to it also, and the weights are also publicly available.
Nice.
So thank you for watching. Subscribe for more such podcasts. Thank you.
Thank you.